They're taking our amps! That's right, Universal Audio is taking our amps! They started with the 5150, and now they're taking our rectifiers. Because today, they released the Knuckles, a Revision F dual rectifier, amp, and a box pedal that sets out to replace this amp and more. Let's do it! Alright guys, hope you're doing great out there today. If this is your first time here at my channel, my name is Kyle. What I do is I take all sorts of awesome high gain related guitar equipment, record it with a simple setup, and I give you the unprocessed audio on your end. You betcha. So if you're into E-standard thrash riffs, drop C hardcore riffs, and dudes that punch their own hands for no reason, you're in the right place. Consider hitting the like button and subscribing on your way out so you don't miss any more of my stuff. Thanks! Alright guys, so it is officially launch day for Universal Audio. They have dropped the brand new Knuckles pedal. And as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, this is essentially a Rev F dual rectifier in a box. This is Universal Audio's attempt to modulate this legendary high gain amplifier and put it into a pedal format that is not only smaller and more affordable, but also has a bunch of extra tools built in. So if you guys are not familiar with Universal Audio's amp emulation line, their line of pedals, they have been doing a bunch of clean and like dad rock style amplifiers, and the reviews for those, people have been really into them. But recently, UA stepped into the world of high gain amplifier emulation, and they started off with the 5150 with the anti-pedal, which I also did a video for here on my channel, and I was in love with that pedal. I still have it. I probably always will, because it does the 5150 thing to a T, and it gives you some awesome extra tools on top of it. And guess what? The Knuckles is just more of the same. So with that, I say to you, knuck if you buck.
We definitely buck.
So yeah, I'm feeling froggy. I want to jump right into it today, and we are going to, what the hell was that cadence? And we are just gonna dive right into this pedal, guys. The Knuckles features a pretty standard EQ section across the front here, but you've also got, just like on the other amp pedals that UA makes, an alternative switch. You put it up to the alternative, and everything that is in parentheses on these controls is what you're going to be controlling when the switch is in that spot. And it just so happens that for the Knuckles, we've got a built-in noise gate and we've got a built-in overdrive. So basically the two pedals that you're gonna add to a dual rectifier 9 times out of 10, they're already built into this. And not only is there a boost built into this, there's a Tube Screamer style boost, but you also get the TC integrated preamp style boost that have become so popular with the rectifier amps, and there's a good reason for it. They sound incredible together, so the fact that you get that on here is really awesome. You also have the ability to kick that overdrive on or off using this button here, and you also can switch between a couple of different presets using this switch on this side. The pedal also has mono stereo inputs and outputs, so you can either hook this up via a stereo method if you're trying to send it out to 2 different amplification sources. But one of the really cool things about this pedal and about UA's amplifier line is that you can hook this up 4-cable method with an amplifier and essentially bypass the preamp of whatever amplifier you have the pedal hooked into. You kick that foot switch on, kick the knuckles on, and all of a sudden, no matter what amp you're plugged into, as long as it has an effects loop, you now have a dual rectifier on top of whatever amp it is. And just so happens that we have a dual rectifier here. So now I have 2 dual rectifiers. It's like dual rectifier.
Quad rectifier.
So that's an awesome feature, guys. It just gives you a couple of different methods to be able to hook up this pedal to whatever power source that you're plugging it into. But this thing also has been designed with going direct in mind. That's how we're gonna start this video off. We're gonna go direct with some of the built-in impulse responses from the cab section of the pedal. You get 6 impulse responses in total. And then we are gonna pump it through a Duncan power stage and compare it directly with my good old Rev G dual rectifier here. And obviously there are gonna be some differences because the Rev F and the Rev G are slightly different, but overall they should provide the same vibe, and you guys can hear back to back how close the anti gets. Before we get too far into this video though, I do want you guys to know this is a sponsored video. Sweetwater has sent me this pedal and they are paying me to share it with you guys here on the channel. And I wanted you to know that in the sake of full transparency, so consider this a sponsored review, because it is, and feel free to take everything I have to say with a grain of salt. But just know, I'm gonna give you my honest thoughts and opinions as I always do, so try to keep that in mind. So one thing that I will say right off the bat, so one thing I do want to mention about this pedal off the top, if you are averse to using apps in order to control your amplifiers or your gear, this is not going to be for you, because most of the control on this pedal, yes, you can control it and get all of your functionality out of the controls on the pedal, but it can be a little bit cumbersome if you're trying to switch back and forth between a couple of settings. The app is really going to be your best friend, and there's some additional functionality inside the app that allows you to fine-tune things even further. So you will need the app in order to get everything, in order to get your money's worth out of the knuckles. But in all honesty, the app for me has been really intuitive. I've been able to find my way around it very, very easily. You guys can see on your screen now, I've got some presets created and saved on here, and it was really, really easy to do that. It's really, really easy to navigate through here. But as you can see, we've got our different overdrives at the top. We've got our noise gate parameters. We've got a bunch of parameters in order to be able to control that. We've got our channel switch. We've got vintage or normal on the channel style, which, as you guys know, rectifiers, they have a modern and a vintage mode on each of the channels, and those will sound very, very different. This also gives you the ability to switch between EL34 and 6L6 power tube voicings, and then it's got your classic rectifier and power modes that you will find on the power section of a rectifier. So it really does have all of the controls that make a rectifier. And just like my video that I did on Sweetwater's channel, take a shot every time I say rectifier. So with that being said, that intro tone, I was still going direct. I was on the red channel, and this is kind of just like a boosted, like fat red channel tone. We are utilizing the built-in impulse response, and it is actually the Vintage 30, the California Vintage 30. All right, so that is very much your typical fat, thick rectifier tone. I think it actually sounds pretty good, but that's, you guys know me. I like my rectifier tones tightened up just a bit. So what I actually want to do is put it back on the normal style, because we were on vintage. So as you can see, there's a lot of room to shape the tone on this pedal, just like there is on the rectifier amplifier. But one thing I do want to try is turning off the built-in boost. We're going to kick in a Pepper's Dirty Tree. All right, right, yeah, I am already having fun with this thing, man. The Dirty Tree really takes it there just like it does with the real amplifier, but we've also got a clean channel, which you can't pay me enough in order to demo on my channel, Sweetwater, sorry. And the orange channel. The orange channel is where I used to really love living on a rectifier. I enjoyed the orange channel tones with the right boosts and stuff, so let's hear how that sounds with no boost in front. Just big and thick and raunchy, really full mids. Let's kick on that built-in tube screamer. The mids on this, like the mids on a rectifier are so hard to get close to. They have a very just distinct mid voicing, and I'm hearing that in this pedal like immediately. It stands out to me right away. Let's pull the bass back. Let's pull those mids back a little bit. Dude, what a nasty tone. That actually sounds really good. Let's go ahead. I'm actually going to switch this over to 6L6 power tubes from the EL34. So as you can see, lots and lots of voicing options for the power section, but they still sound true to form. They sound like a rectifier should. This thing is seriously a lot of fun for me right now. Let's go ahead, let's cycle through those impulses that we get real quick. And then to fully bypass it, we just flip past the last response. So yeah, plenty of good usable sounds in there, but now it is actually time to bypass those impulse responses, and we are going to put the knuckles into the Seymour Duncan Power Stage 200 into my Mesa traditional 1999 cab here with an SM57 on that vintage 30. All right guys, so our first tone through the Duncan Power Stage is going to be using my red TC Modern preset, and this has the TC integrated preamp in front of the red channel on the Modern setting. Dude, sounds awesome. Let's go over to the orange channel. All right guys, so we still have that TC integrated preamp boost in front, but we've got a high gain tone on the orange channel dialed in. All right, so that's pretty nasty sounding. The orange channel, it definitely has the orange channel vibe, but I'm kind of struggling to get the top end right on this part of the pedal. And that could just be the Duncan Power Stage. To be honest, I've always struggled with the top end of the Duncan Power Stage, getting it to where I like it. But with the red channel, it seems to fit perfectly. And it was actually sounding really close. Definitely, dude, this pedal is, this pedal is a lot of fun. I'm definitely gonna be using this in some live rigs coming up as like a backup. All right, guys, so last but not least, it is time to compare the knuckles directly to a Mesa dual rectifier rectifier going through the same cab, and I'm gonna be switching through or between them live in real time. I will say that there are noticeable differences right off the bat, but one thing you have to keep in mind is the Duncan Power Stage has a voicing of its own as well. So with that being said, the mids of the Knuckles or the Rev F version of the rectifier seem a little bit more like classic, a little more martially, and on the Rev G rectifier that I have here, they seem a little bit more guttural, more of that like typical rectifier mid grunt that you are so accustomed to hearing. But otherwise, they are really, really close. So I'm gonna start out by playing a riff on the rectifier, and then I'm gonna play it on the Knuckles. We're gonna start off with no boost, and then we're gonna kick in that dirty tree in front of both of them, so all things are equal. I'm gonna do this some more. So as I mentioned, the mid profiles of them are definitely noticeably different, but the low end reaction is very, very similar. The top end sizzle, very similar. So they're definitely in the same ballpark, but they are honestly a little bit more different than I would have expected. One thing to keep in mind though, is I've complained about this in the past, rectifiers really seem to vary a lot in how they sound. I've kept this beat up Rev G rectifier because it sounds incredible to my ears. It's got something special going on in the mids that a lot of the other ones don't. So that is also something to keep in mind as well. It's gonna vary model to model. But with that being said, it's boost time, baby. Now we're really gonna knuck if we're buck. All right, so Peppers pedals, Dirty Tree on in front of both the amplifier and the pedal. Guys, that is gonna do it for me today on the UA Knuckles 92 Rev F dual rectifier, amp modulation, pedal in a box. Let's see how many words we can fit into the title of this dang thing. What did you guys think about this pedal? Do you guys think that this thing kind of captures the spirit, the sound, the feel of a rectifier? Is it something that you want to try for yourself before you make that decision, or is it something that you are surely going to run out and get? Whatever it is, let me know down below in the comments. I'm really curious to see if you guys like this thing as much as I do. Do I think it is a perfect emulation of a rectifier? I think it's impossible to perfectly emulate a rectifier for the reasons that I've already stated, but it definitely captures the essence for sure. And if I wanted a rectifier tone but couldn't bring a rectifier amp, I would have no problem packing this thing in a bag and taking it with me to use for whatever it is that I'm using it for. All right, I'm falling apart here, guys. If you guys end up wanting to pick up one of these, I would really appreciate it if you use my Sweetwater affiliate link that is in the description and in the comments. You guys using that affiliate link really does go a long way. It helps my channel out immensely, and I very, very much appreciate each and every one of you who supports the channel using the affiliate link or just watching, viewing, liking, and sending me inappropriate messages. Thanks again to Sweetwater for sponsoring this bad boy. I am out of here. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Kyle here again. We'll see you next time.
You know what this wall is missing? Another amp. There we go.